I'm not donating my kidney to my evil twin brother since he has been horrible to me my entire life, having an affair with my girlfriend, getting her pregnant, and then outing me and convincing my family to shun me because I am bisexual. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell to enable notifications. My name is Ryan, and my twin brother Sebastian and I were never close. In reality, he made my life miserable growing up, and my parents didn't help by playing favorites. They purchased him better items for our birthdays, only took him to see films he loved at the movies, gave him additional money for housekeeping despite the fact that we both did the same amount of work, and he would always put me down, degrade me, bully me with his school buddies, smash my stuff, and then blame me. Growing up was mostly unpleasant. My older sister Jane, cousin Kai, and best friend Isaac were the only people I knew I could rely on, and they all understood how bad my brother was. Anyway, when I was 17 years old, I had my first girlfriend, who I adored. We didn't do the deed because she wanted to wait until her 18th birthday, but it turns out she was having an affair with my twin brother behind my back for half of the time we were together, and was only caught when it was revealed she was expecting. I was crushed. She knew how much I despised my brother, and had witnessed some of the horrible things he had done to me. But she went ahead and did it anyway. Cheating is terrible enough, but why do it with him? When I slugged him in the face, his nose fractured and he lost a tooth. My parents believe I am at fault, and we must now assist and support the girl who is carrying my twin brother's child. My brother then stated that he had no intention of becoming a father and advised my girlfriend to terminate. She then hurried out of town, and I never saw her again. I'm not sure if she had the baby or terminated it. All I knew was that she was gone, and my family was still praising my brother as the golden child. I was still the black sheep and a failure, as always. Another year has passed, and my brother and I continue to dislike each other, but I have begun dating again. It took a long time, but I finally met someone, a boy that I liked. I am bisexual, and Daniel, a new guy I met in college, attracted my attention. He was deaf, and I had studied sign language out of boredom, so we started conversing, and everything seemed to click. We dated and fell in love. I brought him to my friend Isaac's party to introduce him to my pals, and everything went well. At this point, Isaac was the only one who knew I was bisexual. But one day, as I walked into the movie, I was holding my boyfriend's hand. I bumped into my evil twin, who pointed, laughed, and made some phobic remarks. I told him to leave and went to see a movie with my partner. When I returned home after dropping off my partner, I knew I'd be dealing with something. As I stepped in the front door, I noticed both of my parents on the sofa. My mother was crying because she couldn't believe she had given birth to someone so filthy. Was it too much to hope that she was referring to my brother? But she was talking about me and how I was a stain on our family's reputation. My father stood up and yelled at me, using phobic words and slurs. At this point, I noticed my brother climbing the stairs with a grin on his face. He then came down and stated that he felt uncomfortable sharing a room with an F slur, and my parents kicked me out immediately away. With the limited clothes and money I had, I traveled to Isaac's house, where his family welcomed me, and I lived for 6 months, enjoying familial love and affection. Isaac's mother and stepfather are now like my own parents. Eventually, Daniel, Isaac, and I obtained a 2-bedroom flat together, and everything was well for the time being. Cut to December of last year. My boyfriend Daniel and I married. Isaac was my best man, and my sister and cousin Kai escorted me down the aisle. I have a fantastic profession in graphic design, my own home by the sea, and my life has never been better. However, my sister called and informed me that my brother was in the hospital. I hadn't thought about him much in the 9 years since I was kicked out, but being reminded of his existence brought back a lot of sad emotions for me. My sister informed me that Sebastian wanted to see me and that it was urgent. So I went to the hospital where he was, and I met my sister at the main door. I asked her what this was about, but she didn't tell me. She said I should ask my twin. So I came at my brother's location, where my parents were by his side, and my parents seemed relieved to see me, as if what they had done to me had never happened. Sebastian also seemed delighted to see me. It's safe to say something was wrong. When I inquired what was going on and why I was even there, my brother told the family to leave us alone. He seemed more weaker than before. He used to intimidate me a lot. He told me that he had been dying from kidney failure for several years, and that he didn't have much longer to live. I knew exactly where this was headed. He then remarked he always regretted that we never got along, to which I said no. He looked perplexed and questioned what I was talking about, so I just informed him that I was not going to donate my kidney to save him. He looked as if I had just pooped on his dinner. He went on to say how horrible the situation was and how remorseful he was for all we did to one another growing up. Excuse me, what did we do to each other? I told him that all I wanted as a kid was a sibling who cared about and loved me and wouldn't try to break me every day for 18 years. He then summoned our mother and father and informed them that I was not going to give up my kidney. They began to claim that I owed them for my existence and that I had a responsibility to care for my family. I questioned them where that duty was when they kicked me out of the house, or where it was every time my brother gave me a black eye, or where it was their duty to care for their grandson when Sebastian opted not to be a father. I explained that for all he had done, from outing me to having an affair with my girlfriend and getting her pregnant, then leaving his child, this was the universe's and my way of finally biting him in the buttocks. I turned around and went out of the room, and that was the last time I saw Sebastian. I'm not sure why they would want an F-slur's kidney. I walked by my sister, who gave me a glance. I returned her gaze, which was met with an expression of understanding. After leaving the hospital, I felt terrific, as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I went home and never looked back, satisfied with my decision. Last week, I received a call from my sister informing me that Sebastian, my twin brother, died. She asked whether I was okay, and I responded yes, but I honestly didn't feel anything. She stated she understood to some extent, as Sebastian had not been particularly good to her over the years. My husband and Isaac were there to encourage me. To be honest, Isaac could almost be our adopted child at this point, because he will be staying with us until the world's problem is resolved. The next day, I received calls and texts from family members I hadn't spoken with in years, telling me that I was going to hell for being a bad son, brother, and F-slur, and that my husband and I did not deserve children. My husband and I have been looking into adoption and surrogacy. This makes me reconsider my decision not to give my brother my kidney. Even in death, he makes things difficult for me. I wondered if I was a bad person and had taken the wrong decision, but I knew that if I had been in that situation, I would have been left for dead. Here are a few more pieces of information that may clarify things up. His renal failure was caused by a tough lifestyle of substance abuse and alcohol consumption. My parents and sister did get tested to see whether they matched, and none of them were. I renounced them as my family years ago, with the exception of Jane. So when I married, I took my husband's last name and hyphenated it with Isaac's last name, which satisfied his parents. Some family members, such as my father's brother, have called to check how I'm doing and have said that they do not judge me for what happened. Others, however, have continued to treat me in this manner, and I have now blocked them. If he had been a decent brother throughout my life, I would have done it without hesitation. I would have done the same for Jane, Kai, Isaac, and my husband, but I didn't think he deserved it. It is unlikely that I will ever see my parents again, and I will ensure that my children never meet them. My retribution to them will be to be better parents than they ever were. With that stated, this one was heavy. After all these years of not speaking to each other, I returned to my twin and family, perhaps assuming they wanted to make things right or restore the relationship, but they wanted my kidney. I completely understand that when you're in that state of desperation and need a kidney, you'll talk to anyone, even if you don't like them. But I think what pushed me over the edge to say no was my twin brother's attempt to rewrite history by adding the things we did to each other, which appeared to be the exact moment I replied, "Oh no, that is not going to happen. We're not going to rewrite history to be that way, because that is not how I perceive it at all." Some individuals enjoyed making comments on the old proverb, "Blood is thicker than water," and how it now has an entirely different meaning than it did before. According to one comment, blood is thicker than water is a 12th century German adage, and the original phrase suggests the opposite. The original phrase goes, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb." So it's remarkable that throughout time, that phrase's meaning has completely shifted to mean the opposite of what it initially intended. I'm not sure how true this history is, but it's intriguing to consider. I believe that many individuals would feel guilty for a long time if their twin sibling died as a result of not receiving an organ. But as far as things went with me and my relationship with the family, it was awful enough that I felt all right with it after learning about the death. The only remaining question I have about the whole situation is what happened to the baby. They're twin brothers, and I'm presuming identical twins. I suppose the infant is genetically the same as his own child. I kept assuming in this story that we'd learn out what happened to the baby, that it'd play a role and return, but we never found out. Whatever strategy they take, please let me know how you would handle this problem in the comments section below.